All right, welcome to our team call. It's August 15th, 2017, and we are just doing a pretty cash talk today. I was in Mexico for 2 weeks for, I think everybody who knew, I'm not sure if Jennifer knew. No, I was in Mexico for 2 weeks. I'm sorry. I was on vacation for 2 weeks. And I was trying to stay as up with everything in the team page as possible, but I got terrible service when I was in Mexico. So I'd like go in and then out, and it was just kind of a crazy thing. So at the end of my little talk, if anyone has any questions or anything to share or anything they want to talk about, it will be like open mic night. So you can just talk about whatever you want. But I wanted to talk today about like kind of the quote, when you're talking to everybody, you're talking to no one. So I've been getting into, which I totally told myself that I was never going to get into, Instagram. And so now, never mind, like kind of, I don't know, in the 10X rule, Grant Cardone, he talks about how like you always want to have a new problem, and not like I'm a Facebook expert or anything, but I did get it down to a pretty good system. And so of course I had to find something to take up my time in, I guess it's a good way, but because I heard, I don't know if it was at Summit, Brenna, if they were talking about that, or maybe just a call that we had listened to, but with us going international in the fall, looking at different platforms to, when you use up your warm market, to get to a bigger cold market that you can then turn into your warm market is important, because I don't know anybody personally in England. So we have to find them somehow, because that's like a whole new market of people who like have basically never heard of Beachbody coaching and could get really excited about it. So today I watched a training about how to find followers and stuff like that. And I can talk to you guys about that if you want. But in the call, he talked about finding your niche market. And I think that's something that in the beginning, we just kind of want everybody. I remember my first challenge group, I did make Success Club, but I had a bunch of new people, but it was because they had purchased programs on, they are, which child? It's Carter. Okay. We're like coming back from the time difference, and the kids were asleep super early, and we thought it was good for night, but it's 9 o'clock and one of them's waking up, so winning. Which child? What was the last thing I said? I was talking about niche market. Okay. Oh, okay. My first challenge group. Yes. So, but I had people who had bought the program just on the infomercial. So if you didn't know this, if someone is like, I have a program, but I don't have a coach, or even before they say that, like, I have 21 Day Fix, like, what are you doing, kind of a thing, blah, blah, blah. I always ask if they have a coach, because I do try to respect other people who have put in the time for that, relationship to build and that trust to grow. And especially if they're getting Shakeology, that's kind of like, I don't want to say stealing commission, but there's just proper etiquette. And so a lot of times if someone does have a coach, I'll ask them to check with their coach and ask the next time that they are running a challenge group. And if they don't answer or whatever, I follow up with them, like, what did they say? And if they're like, they're starting one next week, and then I just send them with my blessing, and I say, like, let me know your results, and stuff like that. And if they don't answer them, because some coaches fall off, we all know that, and I will have them, I do tell them I require them to do a coach switch. So that's if someone has a customer or has a program that's actively working, or someone who's bought it on an infomercial and even did that payment plan. So you can do that free Beachbody sign up, and it's a great way to just fill up your challenge groups. And remember, we're still adding value, and you could be the link for that person to get the results they want, or to maybe see the coaching as a business opportunity. So, just because someone already has a program and I know you're like, you were so excited, I thought I was going to get, Success Club points. Don't worry about that. That's more people that you're adding value to, and then could possibly refer anything. It's still a great thing. So but in the beginning, I had so many of those people who I was like, sure, do a coach stitch, like come be with me, like it's gonna be great, because I just wanted anybody. But even in Instagram, when he was doing that training, I watched this like podcast or like webinar thing, which wasn't super great. But he was talking about that, and so you can apply that to Instagram or Facebook, that if you're talking to everybody, you're talking to no one. And we have talked about this before, but the importance of narrowing down who you want to be your ideal challenger, and therefore on your team. A great example is the Bombshell Dynasty. The Bombshell Dynasty is Lindsay Matway's at the top of it. And if you look at all of her top leaders, they're like all identical, pretty much. There are a few people who are not, but they're all like blonde hair with like long blonde hair and like blue eyes and like kind of tiny. And it's because they are like Lindsay, and it's not necessarily a look thing, but a lot of them are from Florida. Like your niche market is like you, so you can relate to them. So a lot of people will ask, we'll cross paths with people who we just connect with and they don't fit in our thing, like a mom versus not a mom. But for the most part, the people you're going to help the most with are the more things you're connected to. So if one's a fur mom and one's a mom, but you're both connected because of like Danae and I, like where we grew up, like that kind of stuff, we're still connected. But when we're posting, we're talking to people who we can help the most. And I'm not going to be able to help a man who's trying to bulk up. Funny story, my husband, I just got him to do Shift Shop, and he should probably be consuming like 3,000 calories, and I dropped him down to like a 1,200 calorie intake. So I told him I have never claimed to be an expert. So sorry about that. But that's the point. And I mean, I did learn a lot, and I do thank him for this experience. Right, babe?
Yes.
Because I learned, and I actually learned a lot from it, because I went on different programs. Like I went to Beast Mode, and I looked at that for the first time, because I've never really had appeal to Beast Mode as a program. But then I went and I looked, and I learned a lot. But kind of until you have those experiences where you're totally failing forward, the people you're going to help are the people who you can kind of mimic your success with, because this business is all about duplicating. So we become coaches is because we have success. And so we teach people to duplicate that so that they have success. And then therefore we can duplicate that into a business. So not just about duplicate a challenge group, you can duplicate exactly what I ate and maybe have success, just like I did for my coach. No rocket science here, that I just took her meal plan and used it and then I did it. And just like I took her challenge group, and that's how I started. So a good exercise for all of you don't have to like right now, but write it down to do, is when you're writing a post, when you read it back, who are you talking to? If it's not clear, then people don't know you're talking to them. So a lot of times, I'll only say like, hey girl, or hey mama. I'll directly say that in my post. And it was funny, last night I made a post and some guy commented and was like, no girl here, but blah, 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 blah. So he felt connection to that post for whatever reason. But, sorry, Carter said. Yay for a nap at 7:30 at night. So if you read it back and you're like, I don't know who I'm talking to, or I don't know who I'm trying to attract, attraction marketing is like a huge term that you'll hear people say in trainings, that, you're trying to attract people. You're not trying to say like, hey, buy this. None of us want to sound salesy, and none of us are trained to be salesy. So you're just trying to attract people who are like you. Now the whole thing is curiosity posting, which is you're just trying to add curiosity, but you can still attract people while being, adding that curiosity factor. So even on your posts where especially I think the posts who you're not talking about Beachbody or coaching or you know, your workout or whatever, those are super, super important. But if you're looking at who's engaging on your normal everyday posts, that's such a great way to say like, oh my gosh, like you and I, like we're each other's people. And then you can just kind of go to them more. Not all of those relationships are going to bloom, but you can see who likes your stuff. Like I have a girl who I think she would be an amazing coach. She's never joined a challenge group. She's never done anything, but she and I like totally vibe on all of my like hashtag mom life posts, you know, like just random things. She always comments and she always says stuff. And so I moved her to like my dream team list. So like she's there, I check in with her, I continue to build a relationship, and maybe she'll never sign up as a coach, but if she will, like we'll probably like take off right away because we have such a strong foundation that we totally met online. Like I don't know even how we technically met. So something that I'd like to get better at, but I've heard a lot of people say, is like going back and writing down the names of the people who are engaging on your posts. I usually, at Summit, Carl Deichler said something like, he was like, I challenge you when you wake up in the morning to just send invites. So just like whoever's on your mind, just send them an invite, however you do it. I kind of say the same thing, but I add in like things that her and I have talked about before or something. But I'll do that now. Kind of, I'll go off of who like likes my workout post or likes a post about coaching or something like that. And, you know, all these top coaches, they talk about how they watched their coach for months. Pretty much, I've actually never heard of a coach, and maybe if you have, like, let me know, who was like, I saw coaching and I signed up right away and then now they're like, you know, a 15-star diamond. It just doesn't work that way. They kind of watch. And maybe them reaching out to you is just that, like, is them just being like, I don't know. And so at least engaging back with them, starting conversations, or just going for it and asking them, hey, have you ever thought about coaching like I do? I think you would be great because you're so positive, or because you dream big like me and I'm going somewhere with this and I'd love for you to come with me. You know, it doesn't have to be this well-crafted invite that like totally hooks them and they're like, yes, tell me more. I am just pretty blunt about it with them. I just say, you know, I'm gonna go somewhere. I can't tell you exactly where, but I know it's gonna be great and I would love if you came with me. So writing down people who engage on your posts or who like even the non you know, coaching business or anything like that, and then building relationships. And then if you're just feeling sassy in the morning, you know, sometimes you just wake up and you just feel a little bit more go-getter attitude. You know, some days I'm like, I don't want to get out of bed, I don't want to do this, and other days I'm like, yes, send those. Just have that list and just send them, because the worst that is going to happen is that they say, no, it's not really for me. But if you say to them in a loving way, like, hey, I'm doing this and it's super fun and I'd love to have you in my challenge group. Nobody has ever yelled at me in 2.5 years. One person said something to me about inviting her to a free group. She said, if you insinuate that I'm fat one more time, I'm going to block you. Now, she was my mom's friend. And she has some serious eating disorder issues that I had not invited her to a challenge group. But in 2 years, that was the only thing I've really ever had. I might have had one more thing, but that's it. Because we're Beachbody coaches and we're trained, and I train you guys, and I will never approve you watching a training that doesn't invite with love, that doesn't invite from a good place. And so there is no worst case other than, no, I'm not really into it right now. And so if you say that to yourself a few times, it kind of dulls it. So, or have your husband say it to you. No, I'm not going to do that right now, so that the shock of it goes away. Is he okay? Okay. So yeah, that's kind of it about Niche Market. Wesleyan, do you have anything to add? I feel like your eyes are telling me that you have watched 17 trainings about this, so I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you.
What? No, I totally love this topic because I feel like it's so much less intimidating to talk to somebody that you have so much more in common with than to try to create something from thin air. I think that's when people definitely feel more like they're being sold versus like, oh my God, we're, soulmates. So this just makes sense for us. And so I love this topic and have found it very helpful in my own mind to start figuring out a little bit more what my ideal person, my ideal team, if you're going to recruit, what does that person look like? What are the qualities? And so understanding yourself more, I feel like, is the key. So if you know what the things are that your strengths, your weaknesses, your similarities, your differences, kind of like we were talking about, it's so much easier to identify that person and then speak to them in your posts. So something that I've done for this was I kind of created like a vision statement or a mission statement for what would be my girl or my team, so that there's kind of a outline just for me in my own head of kind of what I'm how dare you, what I'm kind
I love you. I'm obsessed with you.
Thanks. So that if it's clear in your mind, then you can have such a good approach. It's clear. So if anyone's interested in kind of starting to craft something like that, I would totally recommend it, and / am here to help if you want any kind of feedback on that kind of thing. And I can also, it's in my little team page, so I can just kind of send you what that is. So, you have an idea, but I think it's something that probably evolves too, over time. So it's good to constantly be evaluating yourself and say, as I'm changing, is my identity changing? And therefore is my niche changing, or niche? Niche?
Yes. I'm not really sure on the correct, how you say it. But a good person to follow, and I'm like very big about don't follow a lot of Beachbody coaches. Like for a while, I got kind of consumed because it started in a good place. I was trying to, success leaves clues. So these top coaches are doing something. So it is important to look and say, oh my gosh, what are they doing? But I can tell you that what they're doing is they're posting consistently. They're making Success Club. They're sharing their story. They're sharing transformations, and they're sharing themselves unapologetically. But you don't know it until you stalk them a little bit. And so I got really consumed where I was like Melanie Mitro, Bonnie Engel, Brigida, Keisha, Missy Reber, like people from our top in the network and people who are top in our upline page. No, I didn't listen to it yet. I was traveling. I'm sorry. I'm going to. It's super good. Gangster rap. I need to get on that. But I was following them, and then I was realizing that I was spending like sometimes 10 15 minutes every time I got on Facebook at kind of looking at their pages and kind of like doing that. And 10 15 minutes is a lot of time, especially those of us who are working and have kids and have other stuff to flipping do. So don't go look at other coaches unless you have intention. So now, and a good person to go and check it. So I unfollowed all of them. I don't know if I unfollowed, but I just made it so like I didn't see them first. But a good person I would say and recommend is Keisha Fitzgerald. She is so like cash and just is her. And she's just a really good person that if you're like, I don't know how to post, because in the beginning it's super awkward, because if you are new to this game, like I posted stuff on Facebook, like, when my son was born, I have massive baby pictures, or like when I graduated or when I went out partying, but there was no message to what I was doing. I was just kind of sharing random tidbits, and very frequently super far in between. So it's okay to go, but like have that in your calendar, like marketing research, make it fancy if you want. But your point to that thing is you're watching TV, and I'm going to purposefully go onto some coaches' pages and just get a feel and see if I identify with anything that they're doing, and then twist it for yourself. But then besides that, don't worry about it, because your voice is your voice. And so, you will never 100% relate to a top coach or another coach in the network, because we are individual people. So, but you can take little pieces and say, oh my gosh, that's me. Like, that is so like me. Like a post that they could say would be like, oh my gosh, about anxiety. Bonnie talks about anxiety all the time. Oh my gosh, that I identify with that so much. But she could be identifying with people who are aged, 25 to 30, where you could want to identify with people who are older. It's just, Melissa on the team, we have two of them, but she was like, oh, I feel like, because I'm younger, I'm 27, and I was like, but it doesn't matter how old I am. Like, I'm your upline, but it doesn't matter who your age, who you identify with, is who you're gonna help the most. So, yes, that's kind of all I have to say about that.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yes, I was just gonna ask.
Well, the reason why I asked about the National Wake Up Call is the girl who was on there, I don't remember her name, but she was a coach I came across in the Beachbody Champions page. And she did this video, and she's somebody who was like super introverted, has pink hair, like tattoos everywhere, not my niche market, but is somebody who's super, could be. I'm getting tattoos everywhere, guys. But she is somebody who, like, when I saw her, I wouldn't necessarily relate to her. But she was talking about how she's super shy and had a lot of issues and all of this stuff. And then now she's like an 8-star diamond and has a second business center and all this stuff. And she was talking about how Beachbody was not something she ever thought she would be into or whatever. But the title of the National Wake Up Call was Invites with Rap Music or something. And she is somebody who literally, you can picture her when she talks on the National Wake Up Call. If you guys get a chance to listen to it, please do. You can even just hear her coming through the National Wake Up Call, like her personality and how she's kind of quirky and a little bit like awkward. And like in her invites, she goes, I tell my coaches that you should always put like, she's like, I always end my invites with like a music line or something. Or like, I listen to Adele and then I, take Adele and I put it into my invites. And like, just listening to her talk about it, she truly is that type of person who she would go, well, on some of my invites, I would literally type them all out. And then at the very end, I'd be like, just push send, you wussy, or something. Like, so every time she had up on her computer, hashtag don't be a wussy. Like, because she would get so uncomfortable with sending invites and stuff. So she was just really funny, and somebody who was, you could tell, was very uncomfortable with the just inviting and talking and posting. And even when you see her do a live video now, I mean, she's an 8-star diamond and she still seems so uncomfortable. When I watched her live, she's like, I'm so nervous. I've been sweating for 2 hours thinking about getting on this call, and all this stuff. And I'm just like laughing so hard, but she's so her, And so that was something that, like, when you're talking about this, Sam, it just screams to me about the call and how she was saying, put into it. She was literally, one of my invites goes like, oh my God, I've been creeping your page for 10 minutes. I'm obsessed with your hair. It's like the coolest color I've ever seen. Where do you get it done? She's like, that is literally a reach out for me. And she's like, I literally would say that to the person. Or, when I'm talking to somebody about something, I will say, I'm obsessed with, this, that, or the other thing. Or I can't handle how you look so cute all the time. And just, you can hear how she talks is exactly how she writes her invites and her posts. And so I looked on her stuff after I saw her on Beachbody Champions a while back. And she's exactly that person. Like, she talks about farting on her page, and that's like something that she always, like, you hear her talk and she's just like so that person. So I definitely recommend, if you guys are looking for some inspiration, I know we talked about Go for the Crack on the live videos last week, Go for Crack. And I've noticed you guys are doing it, and I love seeing the personality. And that's also something to do with when you're posting is, putting your personality into it, using the lingo that you're comfortable with, and then talking to the people who would relate to that. Like, I always joke, a coach has to be able to has to like cussing, because that is how I am as a person. And in my live videos, I can't help but cuss. It's just I get excited and then it just comes out. So anyways, random.
There's some coaches who are like very into faith, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Mm-hmm. That doesn't seem to be our team so far. Like, not in a bad way, but like, there's some like they're very like that's on their vision or whatever something or you know exactly what Wes said, like on kind of like a criteria list almost, you know. And you, as you grow your team, you realize what attributes are important and what are not. You know, you could say, you know, they say be specific and all these vision board trainings and all vision and goal setting, be specific, right? So you might say like, want a coach who wakes up early and does it. But then you could get a team going and then you could tweak it to like just a go-getter despite time constraints. You know what I mean? Like you can twist it and you'll know that it's ever changing. And I'm listening to the 10X rule right now, again, for like the 5th time. But he talks about how he writes his goals every morning and every night. So at the end of the day, he reflects, you know, by writing them again. And then every morning he writes them. So he kind of sets intention for his day. And I think that's so cool. And I have done that for, you know, spurts, but he's done it. Consistency is just key. It's just key. I can't even, so like these people who do these things, they just do it and stick to it. So it's always a you know, a learning and a growing thing, but consistency and stuff like that. I feel like there are a couple trainings I did watch about this topic. So if you're feeling like you want a little bit more, let me know and I can look them up because I feel like I've watched some. Also, if you're doing personal development but you're feeling stressed because you're feeling a little lost in what to do in a certain area of your business, whether that's invites or posting or whatnot, use your personal development time to watch a training video. I do follow some people on YouTube, or I subscribe or whatever, so I get notifications in my YouTube. It doesn't come like to my phone, so it's not a distraction. But when I go in, I'll see like, oh, you know, Keisha Fitzgerald has shared her team calls, and sometimes I watch them because sometimes when you just hear it from like a third party source, it just feels more legit. You know, and Brenna and I talk about that a lot, that we do a lot of like business development, and that's okay for it to be personal development because you're still growing. You're still trying to make something that's uncomfortable not as uncomfortable. You know, you're still growing through something. I do think you should have a book that you're working through, but if you have to put that book on hold for a little bit, like a week, you know, or 3 days a week, so you can do your training videos about, you know, Beachbody specific, do it. I think all of us are not busy. I don't know how to say that like the opposite way, but like, even if you don't work full time, but you have kids full time, like I was home for 7 months and it was the hardest thing I've ever done. I can't even, like, my mind was blown how like less time I had as a stay-at-home mom. So none of us have just ample amount of time that we're dedicating to our business and like nothing distracting us. So your time, be intentional with your time. If you are intentional with a training video, it is just as good as personal development. And they're still going to add like snippets of, you know, just life wisdom in there because, you know, we get our training calls from other trainings that we are doing. Like, I'm doing this training because I was searching for that in my own business and then duplicated that. See how that works? And so, you know, they're going to add stuff. And then I always like to, especially when I'm feeling a little stuck, is take a selfie and do a motivational quote and why it spoke to me for the day. And bam, that's a great post for inspiration if that is something that speaks to you and is something that you can connect with. So that's really all I had. I'm going to stop recording and then see if anybody wants to talk about anything because I was gone for 2 weeks.